What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be talking with you about how much we have saved for retirement, but more importantly how behind we are in saving for retirement. Now if you're new to my channel, hi, my name is Lo and my husband and I are working on paying off over $300,000 of student loan debt. We actually had some consumer debt and student loan debt at the beginning of 2020. During this year we have paid down our debts from $369,000 down to just over $300,000 now as of the time I'm filming this video in December of 2020. So we've made huge progress this year, but we have not focused on saving for retirement very much, and in previous years we have not either. We haven't made it a priority, we haven't done what we were supposed to do. We did not start saving 15% of our income since age 25, as I'll get into in a second. And so we are behind, and I did some analysis this morning looking at a bunch of numbers to see where we're at. So I'm gonna go through it. But first of all, I just wanna say, this is just me trying to figure this out of how much we should have saved and how much we should save in the future. But I'm still learning and figuring this out. Obviously, we haven't done what we were supposed to do, so I'm not an expert, but just, you know, understand that going into this, like, I don't know everything of what I'm talking about. I'm just a regular person trying to figure this out. So just wanted to put that out there before I start getting into like everything that we're gonna do. Okay, to give you some background, my husband and I are 33 now, and when we got married, each of us had just turned 26. So I did some research before this video to try to figure out like when, you know, what are the recommendations on retirement savings, and I found this Fidelity article and also a couple other articles that reference this Fidelity article, and I'll try to find them and I'll link them in the description. But basically it says you're supposed to save about 15% of your income from age 25 to age 67, and that generally should be enough to live off of. So after my husband and I got married when we were in our late 20s, we did not start saving for retirement. It wasn't something that was really top of mind. We weren't making good money. My husband was going back to school. We weren't being responsible with our money. We were just trying to figure out how to like integrate our finances. Things were all a mess. Now, I don't know exactly when we started saving for retirement, but I know at some point my husband started contributing to a 401k through his work. And then at some point, I think I was around 30, I opened a Roth IRA, which is an individual retirement account where you contribute after-tax money, and we were contributing very little. Over time, small contributions add up. I think I was contributing about $100 a month to my Roth IRA initially, and then I increased it to $125 a month, and we did that up until the beginning of 2020, where we started putting all our extra money towards debt. So in 2020, we like really cut back every single expense we could and threw all our extra money towards debt. And so I stopped contributing to my retirement account. My husband kept contributing to his 401k, but he has only been contributing up to his employer match amount. So his employer, for every dollar that my husband puts into his 401k, his employer matches that up to a certain amount, and so it's just like free money. And so we've continued his 401k contributions while we have been, you know, going hard on our debt in 2020. But other than that, in 2020 we have not contributed to retirement. So as of the end of November, which is the last time we updated our budget and our tracking of all our numbers, I had saved for retirement $13,555, and my husband had $24,546 for a total of $38,101. Okay, so to figure out how behind we are, I looked at it a couple ways. First of all, I looked at it to see what percentage of our income have my husband and I contributed to retirement since we got married. And like I said, we got married at age 26. The recommendation is to start saving for retirement from age 25 to age 65 or 67 or whatever. But since we got married at 26, I'm kind of looking at it just since we've been married. And so I looked at our income over the length of our marriage, which is 2013 to present. So to get to that 38,000, if we had contributed, you know, monthly to our retirement every single month versus just, you know, more in the last few years, we would have contributed about $350 a month total between me and my husband to retirement, and that would have been about 2.7% of our income on average since age 26. So 2.7% of our income over time is obviously much less than 15%, which is why we are so behind. If we had actually contributed 15% of our income on average. You know, our income started much lower at the beginning of our marriage. It's much higher now, but let's say we had made the same amount every single year during our marriage. The amount we would have needed to contribute each month to retirement to be 15% of our income on average would have been about $1,900 a month. So we contributed $350 per month. If we had done $1,900 a month on average out throughout the length of our marriage, then we would have been on track. So obviously we are quite behind. That's the bad news. The good news is we are still in our early 30s, so we do have time to catch up, but it would have been better if we had started saving more seriously for retirement in our 20s, but what's done is done. We can't turn back the clock. So in 2020, that was the year where, you know, my husband and I had said enough's enough. We need to figure out our finances because what we're doing is not working, and like we were just feeling frustrated and struggling and like couldn't figure out how to manage our life. So we decided to first work on getting rid of all our high interest debt and all our consumer debt until we were just down to student loans and see how that felt and really just go all in on paying off debt in 2020. And then in 2021, we could reevaluate. And if you've watched my recent video, our 2021 goals, then you already know what our plan is for next year. And that is to significantly increase the amount we're saving for retirement. And then whatever's left over after we make our retirement contributions, use that extra money to make additional payments towards our student loan debt. So we've been trying to figure out how much money we should put aside for retirement now because we are behind. If you start at age 25, like I said from this Fidelity article, you should be putting away 15% of your income. But if you start later at age 30, it says you should put away 18% of your income. And if you start age 35, you should be putting away more like 23% of your income towards retirement. So we're in between 30 and 35 and we aren't starting from zero. But our goal is to save at least 15% for retirement every year from here forward, and hopefully actually a little bit more than that to make up for the lost time that we didn't put enough towards retirement over the last, 7 years. Now, also these Fidelity recommendations are all like the ideal scenario, and this is also just Fidelity's idea of how much you should save for retirement, but perfect or ideal is not reality for most people, including myself. So I was relieved to see that actually in this CNBC article where it's talking about the Fidelity research, and they also are referencing a TD Ameritrade survey, but basically they found that 66% of millennials, and that's people who are currently aged 23 to 38, said that they need to catch up on their retirement savings. So 2 out of 3 millennials are behind on retirement, and so I fall into that category, but I'm certainly not alone. There are many other people my age and my generation who are behind on retirement. So, and I'm not saying that's a good thing that I'm in the majority. Obviously, it would be better if I was in the minority and most millennials were on top of their retirement savings and in good shape. It's a problem that generally millennials are behind on retirement savings. But the good news is millennials are young because the oldest millennial is 38 and the youngest is 23. So that's really prime years to start throwing money at retirement and having time for that money to grow so you can maximize the number of years that your money has to grow. If you start saving for retirement in 40s and 50s, it's still worth doing, of course, but you have a lot less time for your money to grow the later you start saving. Okay, so just to go over what we're planning to do for 2021, in case you haven't watched my 2021 goals video, we have a few goals for our retirement in 2021. First of all, we are planning to max out my husband's 401k, which allows total contributions for the year of $19,500. Next, we are going to max out my Roth IRA, which I'm allowed to contribute $6,000 to. And then we are going to max out our health savings account, or HSA, which is not exactly a retirement account, but it can be used for medical expenses now, or if you don't use the money, then it just stays invested and grows, and so you can use it for medical expenses in retirement. And the maximum you can contribute is $7,200 this year for a family, or for 2021, that's the maximum. I don't know what the amount is for 2020. But we probably won't use all that money. I would say that, like, hopefully we'll only use about half of that. So about 3,600 of that will, you know, stay in the account and can be invested and used for medical and retirement. So I'm counting that towards our retirement contributions. And then I didn't say this in our 2021 goals video, but depending on what our income is in 2021, which we won't know until January, my husband will find out if he's getting a raise and how much, and then later in the spring, I'll find out about a raise for myself. So I don't know exactly how much we'll be making next year, but if we get larger raises than expected, then my hope is to also max out my husband's Roth IRA, which would be an additional $6,000 to retirement. Now, like I said, my husband gets a match from his employer for a certain amount of 401k contributions. I also have a profit share through my company, which means it's kind of like a match, but you don't have to put anything in to get it. Your company basically just, you know, puts money into a profit sharing account for you every year and that they make a contribution. So if my company decides to make a contribution to the profit share this year, then I'll get that amount as well. So assuming we actually accomplish making all those contributions this year, that would mean we were putting between 15 and 17% of our income in 2021 towards retirement accounts. So that will be a huge improvement from any year prior. Like I said, we've been contributing an average of like less than 3% of our income to retirement. So getting to like 15, 16, 17% would be a huge shift for us. And what I'm really hoping is that over the next year, we get more used to this, that this is just a given. This money comes off the top and we're not gonna see it, we're not gonna touch it. And it's just going straight into the retirement accounts and we just don't think about it. And once we get used to that, then it really won't feel any different. And I really think that will happen over time, because in the past when we've contributed to my husband's 401k, we just kind of forgot about it, that it was there, and we got used to whatever his new paycheck was and just assumed that was the amount of money we were working with when we were doing our budgeting. So I think that will happen, even though it's a much larger amount we're putting towards retirement, if we can automate it so that it just automatically, you know, withdrawals, those contributions go in to his 401k, to my IRA, and to our health savings account and all that, that it'll just be a given, and then anything extra we have left over, we can decide what to do with, but that'll just be money that's taken off the top that we kind of just forget about. So one last thing I want to show you guys before I end the video is if we make all the contributions I talked about, we do max out my husband's 401k, we max out my Roth IRA at $6,000, we contribute $3,600 to an HSA that doesn't get used, and we get the employer match and my profit share from my company. And if we continue and do that exact same thing every year from here on out until retirement, so that would be 32 years, and assuming an 8% return on our investment, that would mean at retirement we would retire with $5,280,305. So I don't know if the market will return 8%. It may be higher, it may be lower, but that's a conservative estimate. So obviously, even though we are very behind currently, we still have plenty of time to catch up and retire very comfortably if we're aggressive. Now, I know $5 million sounds like a lot of money, and it is, but also $5 million 32 years from now will not be worth what it is today. So if you kind of cut that in half in your head, it may feel more like $2.5 million to retire on, which is still a very comfortable retirement. So if we are aggressive and stick to this plan and don't deviate very much, we will end up with a good, comfortable amount to retire on, which makes me feel optimistic and hopeful and motivated to get started on this now. But it's definitely something we have to make a priority, and we have to make a priority every single year, basically until we retire. I think with retirement, part of the problem is it's very hard to be motivated to put aside that amount of money when you aren't going to use it for such a long time. I mean, to plan now for something 30 years in the future, just it's hard to plan to like not eat dessert tonight. Like, how are you supposed to have enough self-control to do something that far in the future? And that's why I think the automation is so key, is to just have this amount auto withdrawal from our account or auto withdrawal from our bank, our paychecks every single month, and you know, that way it's not in our control to screw it up. So I'm excited to see what we can do. It's definitely gonna be a challenge, but I'm excited to just go for it. So that is it for today's video. If you liked the video, make sure to smash that like button. It really helps out my channel. And if you want to see more videos like this and follow along to see how much we save for retirement, then hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you as a subscriber. If you guys are working on saving for retirement, then comment below and let me know how much you've saved, what progress you've made. Are you behind? Are you right on track? Are you ahead? Like, how are you guys doing saving for retirement? I'd love to hear down in the comments. You guys tell me what sort of progress you guys have made, and I will see you guys soon in my next video. Bye.